But hey, it's Monday. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. I'm really excited about this guest, the legend, the man of the hour. He's going to bring some fire, Mr. Richard Duggal. I'll go ahead and get started, you guys, and you guys go ahead and send out that link to other people. But Richard and I, we spend a lot of time together, and we used to do a lot of coaching calls on a daily basis. And this guy is, one of the few people that I respect and I listen to, because he definitely knows what he's talking about as far as when it comes to dialogue and profiling and understanding psych behind the behavior of just people in general. So I'm gonna let Richard tell a little bit about his background, but what I know of him, he can add more to it is, I know he's, been a Mike Ferry coach, and he's been historically the only person that Mike Ferry used live as an example to show out his greatness, the legend. He does NLP, and let him kind of dive into that. But all this stuff is really, really, really going to be beneficial to, today's market, especially when you gear it towards production. So I'm really excited about that. Let me turn my camera. Oh, no, I can't turn my camera on. So you guys just get a still shot of me. But I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to give it over to Richard so he can get going, since we're running behind schedule here. And yes, this will be recorded, and it's being recorded. It will be presented to those who may have to bounce off, so you can watch it later and watch as many times as you want. But Richard, man, glad to have you here, bro. I'm really excited to the fire you're going to bring today.
It's great to be here, Gary, especially with someone like you. That's the real deal. Because there's a lot of coaches out there that I teach from books. Because remember, anyone can be a coach. You just go online and say, I'm a coach. You go to Think and Grow Rich, and you just read out on the video, these are the 10 principles. But when you actually look at what they're doing and what they're producing, there's nothing to match that. And that's the illusion of social media. And so one thing I always stand for is being the real deal. And you're absolutely right. I'm the only person in the history of Mike Ferry where they play my live call to the Superstar Retreat. No one before and no one after, of actual dialogues with hostile for sale by owners and people like that, and turning them around, changing their state. Awesome. And so my history is, I've taken over 3,000 listings personally, and through mainly prospecting and getting on the phone, but knowing what to say, how to say it, and how to change people's state. And so when I first got in the business, I was kind of fortunate. I had a broker who said, get on the phone. He's like one of those Italian soprano characters. And he had a cane, by the way. And he said, because he had some issue, but man, that cane used to swing sometimes. And he goes, get on the phone. And he never told me what to say, but that wasn't his job. That's my job to figure out, I guess. And then I went to a coach, and he gave me these 3x5 cards. And he said to what to say when you're on a listing appointment, or when you're on the telephone. And they were really, really useful, because now I know what to say, to somebody. Let's say I sold a property, or somebody sold one, and I'm calling around that listing. What do I say, right? So I go, I just follow these questions. But then I realized that, after a while, that not everybody follows the script, as you know, on either side. And I said, wait a minute, I have to get out. I have to learn what to say. Then I learned about NLP, and I looked at a book called Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. In fact, when I went to the bookstore to get that, I couldn't even let go. I went to a coffee shop. I think I read the whole thing. I couldn't even leave. It stuck to me. And it was called Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. And he mentioned in there neuro-linguistic programming. And that's what he's actually doing. But he also named the 2 people that trained him in that. So I went there, and I traveled, and I got certified with the original founders. And NLP is the language of persuasion. A lot of people have different definitions. And I got to train a level, which means I'm the one who gives people a certificate. It's the highest level you can get, because there's a lot of people that are trying to teach NLP. They took a little weekend course, or they read a few books. But I'm the person who writes the book, so I actually do it. But the best part is I converted it to selling, to persuasion and influence. Tony, if you want to learn about how to work on yourself and do the self work, then I would recommend Tony Robbins. There's amazing stuff there. Well, I took his stuff and I said, I just want to focus on getting contracts signed on production, sales. So that's where I listened to it. It took me years to convert it into sales because some of the language is kind of funny, kind of strange. So I had to make it practical and real. And that's how I went out and started to list property. And so I started in a company, a national franchise. In my 3rd to 4th year, I was number 7 in the country as a single agent. And then I went to a high-end company in Toronto, the highest end in Canada. It's called Harvey Callis. And I had one assistant, one full-time assistant, and a little bit of a part-time assistant. And one agent joined me, and I broke their record in 42 years. And people were wondering, well, how are you doing that? Because they think the high end, you got to speak a certain way. But what I do is I watch what everybody else does, and I do the opposite. Because Mike Ferry was about, I think he's about 19, around 19, 18 years old. And he asked Earl Nightingale, who he worked with. Oops, got too excited there. And who was Mike Ferry's coach, and his mentor. And he said, how do I become successful? He said, watch what everybody else does. And then you go the other way. And so even going back into real estate, I noticed in the office, there's a few people who are doing all the sales. And everyone has that experience, right? It's the same names over and over again. And there's a lot of people there. And so I started to ask people what they did, the general population in the office. And they're the ones who always want to come and help you in the traditional model, the ones who are not doing anything, right? So they go, what do you do? I send flyers. And I go, okay, good. So you send flyers. And then I asked another agent, I asked her, what do you do to get business? And she goes, I do open houses on the weekend. And I go, okay. And then I asked somebody else, so what do you do? And she said, I put an ad in the paper. But I noticed the one particular person that was the number 1 agent, at least until I started, getting out there, is but I used to really, watch him, and I kind of modeled what he did, is that he was on the phone. He was talking to people. So I said, wait a minute. They do open house. They put ads in the paper. They do flyers. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that. And that's what I started to do. And I started to learn what to say and how to respond. But I educated myself. And that's the key. I trained, I practiced. So a lot of my success is due to my mentors and coaches. And thank you to all of them. So I used to look at the scripts. And one thing I did is I scared myself. I used away from motivation, to call it, in NLP. Because basically we're motivated by 2 factors, all of us as human beings. We're either motivated to move towards pleasure or away from pain. Towards pleasure or away from pain. And we're going to talk about that. So I use one thing is that I don't want to be in front of a client and a listing presentation and they give me an objection and I haven't got an answer. So I decided that a long time ago that I am not going to be in that position. I scared myself, you could say. And I had to know what the answers were. And then I got role play partners. So that's part of my history. And then I went to Remax, and not only I wasn't in the top 100, but I was the worldwide speaker for Remax. So out of 140,000 agents, they send me to Germany, to Stuttgart, and I'd speak at their annual convention, Turkey, England, blah, blah, blah. And then I went to Vienna, and I trained the owners of each franchise. So they flew me over, me and my wife. And so I was training them on how to read people really fast and how to adapt your language to the client or the prospect. In their case, recruiting, or they're selling a region, like, Southern Italy to someone, and they have to read that person. And then I talked about the day in the life of a superstar. And then I had a little panel going on. It was amazing. And it's such a privilege. And then I found this company, which is like incredible. It's like the new wave. That it's something completely different, nothing comparable, which is EXP. And one thing about the surprise, as well as, well, I realized that in the other company, there was one revenue source. And then I found out there's one way, there's 3 revenue sources, but also the collaboration. that happens, which is like a bonus. And Gary's a big part of that. I have to thank him because the collaboration is incredible because there's a financial incentive for somebody who want to help you. It's not a charity where somebody will walk over in an office if he feels like it, give you a hint. You don't even know what they're even telling you is real. But this way, there's a collaboration based on a business structure, which I like. So here I am, I like to share what I'm doing because I have a little saying in my mind. I want to build young monsters. Because there's an agent that came to see me. He said, Richard, I want to, this is my old company I was with, where the fees were really high. And he goes, I can't afford the fees. What happened? I've been a year doing leases. And I go, leases? Ouch. In your first year? He goes, that's what they told me. Eventually they'll buy. Now, I took tons of listings in my first year. So for me, I can't relate to that. So I've got people like Ray, who came to me, did 31 listings his first year at 19 years old. I've got another person, my son, Michael Duggal, who took incredible amount of listings, like it may be the world record for listings, and he's prospecting and selling. And I have another agent that was with a traditional, one of the big companies we mentioned. He did 4 deals and he'd cut the commission on all of them. They're all friends. And he came to me and he did almost 30 deals his first year. And these are young people. And I said, I want to save these people. So it's a little thing in my heart. I want to save them from what they're hearing, all this other information out there. And that's one reason I like to share. Any age, obviously. So Gary, anything, any comments, any?
No, I love it. Just kind of keep it going. So, one of the things I like to hear about is kind of the whole, the method to the madness, the two types of motivations, right? The move towards pleasure or away from pain. That's powerful. So kind of go into detail about.
I'd love to do that because I'm going to give you takeaways today that you can actually take home and use today on yourself and other people. So one thing I do with my coaching clients is that I say to them, I want you to write down on 2 pages, 10 reasons why I should prospect, 10 benefits of prospecting. And I want you to write 10. So one is I'll be able to buy that, whatever it is, that S-Class Mercedes or whatever it is, or I'll get my kids to an Ivy League school like Harvard or Yale or whatever. That could be a goal, right? So what happened is you write down all the benefits, 10 of them. Then you have a page, and I did it myself many years ago, where you write down 10 negative consequences if I don't prospect. And it's so interesting. I'm thinking about it this morning because it looks like we have 2 licenses in real estate nowadays. We have like most agents, they have an Uber license and a real estate license. Because I've had so many people, I had 3 last week tell me, Rich, I need some help. What's going on? Well, I'm driving Uber. So that could be one of them. Number one, I don't want to drive Uber. So there's 10 negative consequences for you, your family, your future. And then what you do is when you write that down, you go, oh my God. Then what you do is every morning, I did this. Everything I'm telling you is tried, tested, and true. Tried, tested, and true. So I'm reading it every morning before prospecting, getting up. It's in a folder. I call it a morning folder. I put things in there and I'm looking at it. My golly, believe me, you're gonna get on the phone because you're using both on yourself, towards and away. And then what you do is you send it. Like in my case, I ask people to send it to me. Why? Because left on their own devices, they won't do it. So out of 20 people, 100 people, maybe they watch the replay, maybe I'm going to be optimistic. Maybe 20 will do it. That's optimistic. But by having a coach, we say, I need to see it. Not because I really need to see it, but because that'll make sure you do it. So that's what you do. Every morning you look at that. Number 2, how about persuasion, other people? You want to find out why are they selling the house? This is called production training because I want to get that appointment and I want to be able to nudge the emotions because I went to a seminar and it said, people make decisions from emotion and logic only makes them think. So the summary is emotion causes action, and logic just causes thinking. And when I wrote it down, Gary, and everyone here, I wrote, oh, wow, I'm so smart now. I learned this thing. Then I went home, and a few days later, I go, what does that even mean? And that's what I've noticed with a lot of the trainings out there. They're all just like ideas, Instagram ideas, and they sound really good. But if I ask any of you right now on this call, could you really explain that? And could you explain how to do it? Maybe one of you can. Maybe, I don't know how many of you can. I haven't found many. So I had to go on my own journey to find out, and my own discoveries and research. And but this is one you're using on yourself, but let you know, on the emotion, because emotion will make you go into action. Do you get it? So what you're saying is, no damn way I'm doing that. That's not happening to me. I'm getting on that phone. So you're using emotion to cause action in yourself, not just thinking. Now, how about your customer? If a person wants to move, you want to find out what's triggering it. Is it more towards pleasure, or is it more away from pain? You know, so what's important about moving from the house, Mr. Johnson? And Mr. Johnson says, I can't stand this neighborhood. It's changed. Half the people here, they're renters now. They don't look after the lawns. They make noises. I can't stand it. So what's that? Is that moving towards pleasure, or is that away from pain? Kind of obvious, right? So now you know his trigger points. You can start discussing it or reminding him. Because when you're with him and he's talking about, well, how much is your fee? How much can I get? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not really sure. That's logic. But if we can get him into the emotion about the neighborhood, right? And in the coaching, we dialogue all these things and we role play. I don't know if I'll have a chance today. If I can, I will. But what about the same person? And he's in the same situation. Believe it or not, it's not circumstantial as much as we might think. Because we may say, what's important about moving? And he said, I want to get to a place where I'm free. There's lots of land. I have a Jeep. That I did up it's a super Jeep. And I have my guns. And I want to just like fire off in a range. I want land, man. I want land, And so the same person, but in a different mentality, because some people are more inclined towards moving towards pleasure. Some are more inclined towards moving away from pain. And obviously circumstances have something to do with that, but there's a tendency. So we have to find out. So if I start talking to that person too much about the neighborhood, because he might mention plus of things to change around here. So what does that mean? We are motivated by both, all of us. But there'll be a scale where somebody is leaning more towards one. So if I press on that too much, he'll think I'm being a bit negative, because he has this image. He wants to have this image and he wants to hold it. So what I would do is I would nudge on that a little bit, but I'd start asking about the ranch, asking about his guns, and all that, asking how, what the range is, because the bigger range, the bigger the area he needs. Right. And by the way, I have someone in mind when I'm mentioning those things. And so we have to find out what motivates a person, Gary.
No, I love it. So I just want to kind of give a takeaway on that, so everybody should be writing this down. When you have those two motivations, and you're 100% accurate, and I love it, is one to move towards pleasure, and the second move away towards pain. Is good to find out what we call those pain points. But you said the key thing, you focus on the pleasure, because the pleasure is emotion that they're going to take the action on, right? They're not going to take the action on the negative, most likely.
No.
Everybody makes moves on pleasure, and that's important.
Yeah.
And that's the strong why. So that's powerful, man. I love it.
Yeah. And thanks, Gary, for mentioning that, because if you dwell too much on the negative and you just stay there, this is really advanced, actually, because people don't teach this in 101 NLP. Is that if you stay there too long, it can get to a point where they get into their sympathetic nervous system. Is that we have two systems in our body, parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic means breathing changes. It's shallow. It's like very short breathing. And the person now is feeling nervous, feeling fight or flight. And they tend to freeze. So we don't want to go too much into the negative. We want to touch it, but we want to get into the idea of parasympathetic. People are breathing and they're thinking of possibility. They're going to a different state. It's called state management. And now they're thinking, let's do it. Let's get over there. And around the corner, they're going, I don't want to be there, but let's move over here. So that's why you want to create the vision of the person in the future where they want to be. It's called time sliding. We take them in the future, and that's a bit more advanced, but we time slide people into the future where they're feeling and experiencing where they want to be. That's what I do in my coaching. I say, as you work with us and you're getting those listings and you're in that neighborhood and you see your name on the signs and you are seen as the expert, you got the prestige, the status, what will that do for you? And the person may say, well, it'll make me proud. It'll make me proud that I'm carrying on the name of my father, the good name of my father, because he was in business. You see the emotion there? So that's what we do. It's beyond just a script. How long have you lived at this address? Those scripts. That's why I couldn't stay there. Because when I did the 3,000, and I'm still doing it more, I've already taken 12 this month, is that I don't spend money. I use the phone. I don't buy leads. I don't buy leads. I don't send flyers. Nothing wrong with that. In my city, I have no billboards and all that lot. I'm the only person I personally know. People have told me, and I go, actually, you're right, Richard. I never seen anyone, take 150, 200 listings without billboards and benches and all that stuff and flyers and all. I haven't seen anything of that. How do you do it? They think I've got some secret or something like that, because they're trying to figure out how I do it. And most of it I did by myself. I actually had a lot of pride in not having a team, just for the fact I could beat teams single-handedly. And then I became a coach, and I started taking a lot of clients. That's actually how I built the team. It happened by accident. Actually, somebody just said, I'm looking to be your assistant. I go, I'm not looking for an assistant. I'm looking, but if you want, I've got lots of listing appointments. Maybe you can go on them. I've got too many. So that's what happened. And wow, I love having a team because I love, the teaching. And that's why I came to this company, because I have a chance to share and learn and mastermind. And, Gary and me, we talk almost every day. Literally almost every single day about some idea or something we're doing. And that kind of collaboration, and Adam, and it's incredible. So the other thing is you want to stick around people. We all know that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I'm very careful who I spend time with, and so should you. And you don't want to be the big, so somebody said to me, oh, I'm going with this other agent. I go, oh yeah. He goes, yeah, the number one at their office. And I said, it's easier to be a big fish in a small pond. It's easy to be a big fish in a small pond. And she just laughed. She got the idea, right? So what you want to do is get a bigger pond, get into where there's people doing more than you, where it's a challenge. And someone said it very wise. You want to be the dumbest person in the room. That means you're the one who's going to learn the most, right? Most people look for a room where they're the smartest and they can be the Mr. or Mrs. Clever.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So, one of the things that you said that just kind of stuck out, and maybe you can kind of go deeper into is, I'll sum it up, is that time sliding. How do you create that vision for buyers or sellers? Like, what type of questions? What's that path look like? Because I think that's where, people kind of miss the opportunity, because they just ask the basic questions. They don't look at the psych profile behind it, the profile, the real the real why, right? So kind of give us some examples of that, because I love that.
Absolutely. And I want to just mention that when we talk about persuasion here, we're not talking about mind bending somebody to make them do something against their self-interest and all that lot. What we're looking at is, if I'm persuasive and I know that, I've got the skills, what's the advantage? Is that you can connect faster with people. You can connect deeper with people. And people can get that you're the person, that you're offering is exactly what they want. Like, they get it. right? Because let's say that you're the local agent, you know what's going on, you know the market, you got the buyers, and then you go and see someone, they go, well, I saw this guy, you know, on Instagram, and I think I'm going to go with him. I like his videos, and I think I'll go with him. He makes me laugh. And you're thinking, hello, you know, I'm here to sell the house. We're talking a lot of money. How are you going to get that message across if you don't know how to communicate? So what we want is you get me. So it's coming from that place of you get me faster, you understand my offering, and you match what you want, what you desire with me. Now, that's where Gary comes in. Find out what the person wants. You've got to be asking questions because we end up talking too much, blah, 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 blah. Then somebody might say, well, what is a person, where do they want to move or why they're selling? I don't know. So in my team, what makes it very unique? And Tom Ferry's, you know, called me, his brother. I mean, they said, how do you get your team to take listings? Because it's a listing-based team. It's not very common, right? Because usually when you've got a team, you've got buyer agents running around and doing open houses and all that. And you guys get listings. So, you know, how come? And so one of the things that we do is that when I give out leads is I'll say, you got an appointment? Great. Yeah. So tell me. And they go, yeah, it's in this. They tell me the address. They start talking about the house. I got the house I'm not interested in. There's nothing special about it anyway. But how about the people? I want to know about the person. So I say why they're selling. And sometimes when they're new, they go, I don't know. I know they want to move over here. That's all they know. But I want to know, what are the values? So the word is a V. It begins with V. What are the values that are driving that decision? Right? So Mr. Johnson, where are you moving to? You know, I'm moving to Albuquerque. Albuquerque, what takes you there? And say, well, I want some land. I want to have something with a bit of land right now. You know, there's not much of a backyard, townhouse here. I can't really afford anything more. And I work from home. I can work from anywhere. So Albuquerque, what will that do for you that you haven't got here? What's the difference? And you might say, well, when I was a kid, I was actually brought up in a condominium building, and my dad wouldn't even let me go downstairs because it wasn't even safe. And I don't want that. I felt like trapped like a dog in a kennel with a lock on it. And I said, when I have kids, I want to play with them in the backyard. I want to be throwing that ball, that football in the backyard. That's a father to me. I never got that. So you see what happened? We're taking him in the future already. He's already seeing himself. But he didn't even stop there, not with the Duggal effect. And I say, so here you are. You're throwing that ball. And you know that because let's say I know he's got a son already. Your son's about, catching it. You're throwing that ball, it's in the air. And you know that you got that house, you got that family, you took care of them, and you're a real father. Ultimately, what will all of that do for you? Can you already feel the eyes watering even in a man? That's called emotion. And I've already got their why, so I'm leveraging it. In that point, and I've been in real houses. Remember, I'm not a stage speaker, even though I do go on stage. I actually sell. They're not thinking about commission. They're not thinking about what you did sell homes. They're in a trance. And that's when I close them. And that's my secret, you could say, is persuasion NLP. And it's not in the books. And that's why I couldn't stay inside that box, because I'm like Bruce Lee in the sense that no style is the best style. So I learned one style, and then I realized I'm in a box. That whole thing could be in a briefcase, the whole system in a briefcase. But there's more outside the briefcase. And that's why I had to learn about psychology. And actually, I had to actually invent things because they weren't even available. Because I live by the principle of Kaizen, which is constant, never-ending improvement. Constant, never-ending improvement. And I'm learning things every day. I'm studying the craft of selling. We're in a business where we use words, and words are our crafts. You're a craftsman. And as a craftsman, we have to know our trade. We have to have the skill of words.
Absolutely. I mean, that was fire. And I agree with you 100%. And hopefully everybody's taking notes, because it's all about, I call it kind of like the setup, right? How Richard just set up, emotionally, that client from a posture of contribution, being real, but still set them up, and then ask the powerful question at the right time. What would that do for you? Like, what would all that do for you and your family? And that's powerful, because the whole thing behind it is when you get people to really dig deeper in their soul for what that pleasure is, and you bring that emotion out, it's a slam dunk, and it's a good feeling for you, because their true why. You expose that to them, right? The Duggal effect, right? You expose that to them, so that's awesome. And and people, what agents have to understand is, I always joke about this, but it's there's a little bit of truth to it. We're almost like counselors, right? We have to help navigate people's emotions and lead them in the right direction, right? Like you said, time slide and create that vision, and there's a lot of psychology behind that. There's a lot of human behavior behind that. And you're right. The words we select and how we approach things, it's a skill set. It's a high level skill set. You're almost like a therapist, right? And so the people that struggle, that's one of the things that I believe is to get to a next level where you don't have to market with billboards, you don't have to market with newsletters, but you market with dialogue, prospecting. I mean, that's very powerful. So yeah. I love it. I love it.
And I want to mention also, there's nothing wrong with billboards. There's nothing.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
The thing is that, see, what happens is that if you were looking for a coach and someone said, I got billboards and I got bus benches, all they can teach you is how to write checks, put a mortgage on your house, or maybe you got money in the bank, and spend it. But you can figure that out on your own. And you see, the reason why my system is the best on the planet is this. I'll tell you why. And no, it's unchallengeable. Is that once you learn the skills of persuasion, connection, get closing deals, closing, is that opening and closing, from the open to the close, is that I can go on that side anytime I want. I can just put a billboard now if I want, flyers, right? I just write checks. Like, it's easy. There's companies that do it now for you anyway. They do everything for you. But they can't come on my side. They can't say, I know all this persuasion, I think I'm going to start using it. Because they didn't put the time and effort in it. And that's the proof. It's fundamentally unchallengeable. I can go on that side anytime I want, but they can't come on mine. So I could start doing that. I mean, people in my market, they'll see that they've never seen a flyer. They've never seen even, I haven't got even a very good website. So anything like that. I haven't got a lead generation website, but those are great tools. But I spent the money on myself, because those things can come and go. And there's nothing wrong with them. But I believe if you got $1, spend it on yourself first. Get a book, get a coach. Now, one thing I want to mention also is that the voice is really critical. So the voice, I made up a little saying, is a voice is a delivery mechanism to send your message. So it better be good. It's how you're sending your package. Like, it's a delivery system. So when you say, Jim, what will that do for you? Or when you're calling a listing where they had somebody else, you go, what do you wish they should have done? That whisper, what do you, but in the beginning, you might go, hi, it's Richard, the local real estate agent. And next thing you know, it's a few lines down, you're going, so what did they do that you like best, if anything? And they go, well, they kept in touch, call me Marie. Oh, that's great. So they kept on letting you know that they can't sell it. They're informing you the reasons it wasn't selling. And that's called a reframe. We can talk about that. I'm giving them a different way of seeing the situation. And they go, oh, well, yeah, whatever, right? And I go, I understand. Good for you, that's nice. And I go, then I just whisper, there's a pause. I go, and what do you feel they should have done? So now I'm bringing the intimacy in the connection. It's all about connection. We talk about persuasion because persuasion means we're moving something forward in a direction. But underneath, above that, and built into it is all through connection, human connection. Once you got that deep rapport at the beginning, people open up. I mean, I meet people that come to my office, and I'm not joking, exaggerating. Within about 3-4 minutes, they're telling me everything. Talking about our recruit, they're spilling their guts, like things they may not even mention to their mother-in-law, their wife, or whatever, because they can feel that instant connection, with me. So a lot of the things, techniques are great, but behind them is your intention, and your intention is to take care of this person. So in my mind, I say, I care about you, and I want you to do well. So when somebody comes to my office and they say, Richard, I'd like to learn about your team, or someone's on the phone, they say, well, tell me about your coaching. I saw you on this thing or whatever. I know you're at Mike Ferry, and I heard from the Mike Ferry salespeople, which I got the letters, that I trained the Mike Ferry salespeople. I got letters saying, thank you for teaching us how to use the scripts conversationally. And these are his own people that are calling you, and they listen to my calls. And even the president of Mike Ferry, which I love that company, by the way, Ron Cronin, he's the president now, business development president. He came to our city of 600 in a 4-day event. And the third day, he said, he just stopped. And I was sitting in, I was near the back, and he said, I want to introduce you to my hero. And I go, I think it might be me. And I wasn't even ready, but I'm always ready. You know what I mean? I'm never not ready. And so when I got in the front, I was handling objections from the audience. And there's one thing in handling objections from strangers, right? But there's another one from your peers. But there's even another one from your competitors. One of the guys, we just took a listing from him. He was competing on a listing the day before in Durham. And we took his legs off him. Anyway, we took the listing, but he's in the audience, right? But what I learned is that I can handle any situation, any dialogue. Now, did that come easy? Did that come naturally? Maybe a little bit, but I trained for that. And I'll tell you what happened. I was in Florida, and I saw the speaker. It was Mike Ferry's son, Matthew. And so when he gets off the front, he's actually teaching scripts, their scripts, which are great scripts. And he gets off the stage before lunch. He goes, let me just, you know what? A couple of minutes, let me handle some objections. And he walked down the aisle, and there's about 900 people, I think, about 900 in that one. And he started handling objections on the fly, just like that. And I said, that's not on the script. You know what I mean? And I said to myself, actually, I the way I remember it is my hand was out there. Maybe it was metaphorically. I said, I want that. I want that. In other words, I'm having it. It took me 5 years to my satisfaction where I can do that anytime in my sleep. And you want to know the script so well, your material so well, internalize it. Somebody calls you at 2 o'clock in the morning and they go, why should I choose you? And you go, blah, 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 blah. Why should I pay you a commission? That's how, and I made myself that way. So it wasn't something I just took a pill. It was a standard I set for myself. You see, there's a saying that I have on my wall. I don't even have it anymore physically because it's in my brain. I don't just want to be the best. And I'm saying this for you guys, not for me. I've done what I'm doing. I don't want to be the best. I don't want to be the best. I want to be the best of the best. So if you set that standard, I want to be the best of the best. Who would you hire as a coach? How much money would you spend? You'd borrow money in your credit card. Say, I'm investing in Richard. I know I'm going to do the work. I know it will work. You take that educated risk or that investment, and you learn the scripts and say, I'm going to be the best. So it's a standard you set for yourself. Because when you were born to be average? There's a sign. I used to do door knocking when pots and pans, this and that, many years ago, for years, not for a weekend job. And I built a company and all that. And there's a sign there when I first started. It said, to be average scares the hell out of me. It was in the sales room. And I used to look at that. Oof, to be average, it scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, that's powerful. I don't even know where to start, man. This is some good stuff. So I think one of the things, kind of to wrap it up, we get towards that time, is I would love to hear maybe some common questions you ask, kind of to help navigate with that pleasure point with listings. Let's just go with listings, because you're a master at listings, and I think any agent would appreciate listings. So I don't know how you want to do that. You want to just come up with some of the common questions you ask? You want to try to role play? How you want to handle this?
Sure, I'll give you some actual techniques. So one of them is called an awareness presupposition. Awareness. So instead of saying to somebody, let's say you're calling a past client or one of your center of influence, or any prospect, a lead, and you're going, the market's really good. Now, when you say the market's really good, what they're thinking is you're a salesman. You're selling real estate. Obviously, then you're going to tell me the market's good. It's like a stockbroker saying, should I invest? What are they going to tell you? No, right? You expect them to say, it's the time to invest now. So how are they going to believe you? So what you do, you change the whole structure of that conversation. And you presuppose it's already true. You're just asking them if they know about it, rather than saying, let me give you some news. So this is what you say. So watch the difference, how it feels. Instead of saying, and from this example, you're going to extrapolate it and use it in other areas. But instead of saying, the market is good, what you say is, John, are you aware of how good the market is? You see how that feels different? Are you aware of how good the market is right now? Now it doesn't matter. And the thing is, whether they say yes or no, it's 50-50 or 100-100. It doesn't make any difference at all. So what if they say no? And you go, that's why I'm calling. How good that I'm calling. And now you're giving them you open their mind. If they go, yeah, I do. And you go, that's exactly why I'm calling. You see that? That's one of the, so you can start using that today. Another thing, I get so many techniques, I could spend a year doing this, just teaching it, is a double bind, which some of you are familiar with. And one thing that I would mention is, when people, they say, well, would you like to meet at 4 o'clock or 7 o'clock? You see, when you give people only two choices, their mind eliminates all of the choices. So Mary, let's say you say to the wife, do you want to go today to that new Thai place? Or you think we should just order in? Now, isn't the third option to cook? But you see how the mind didn't go there that easy? So when you give people two choices, they eliminate all of the choices. And it gives the illusion of what? It begins with C. Anyone know? The illusion of choice. There is no choice. It's the same thing. We're still going to be not cooking at home. So this is one thing you want to use. You want to meet at 4 or 5. James, right now, we've been on the market for a week. And as you can see, the market isn't responding well to your price. Always blame the price, otherwise they'll blame you by default, right? And you say, so do you want to look at the price today? Friday, or do you want to wait till after the weekend, see what happens? No, let's see what happens after the weekend. You're already embedding the suggestions in their mind, and you're giving them the choice in their mind. They believe they have the power. It's an illusion of power they don't really have, because you directed their thought. So when you start putting these things into your conversation, I'll give you another one, and it's called the quote pattern. It's one of the most deadliest, actually. And so the quote pattern is where you tell somebody something, but you use somebody else. So I'll give you a real story. I was at a restaurant, and there's a friend of mine who's very overweight and getting more overweight, and I care about him, right? And so anyway, he's a real estate agent. So he was eating there, and I use an embedded command. It's called an embedded command, where you put commands within the structure of a sentence. You have a sentence, and then you have another sentence inside that sentence that goes in like a command, and it goes into the unconscious mind. So this might take a bit more work than me explaining it completely, but I'll give you a taste of it using the quote pattern. So anyway, I was talking to him, and I thought, if I tell him, hey man, you're getting fat, he may get offended because he's a friend, but it's not like, I know that he'd be sensitive to that. Let's put it that way. And so what I said is, I was, reading there in a Thai restaurant, actually, by the chance. Anyway, and I said to him, one thing about Mike Ferry, I said, I really like him a lot, but he's one of those characters, you either love him or you don't, you can't stand him. And he said, yeah, I know. And I said, there's a lot of great people, and they seem to have that characteristic. I said, actually, at one point, I remember he's in a seminar, and there's a lady there in the front drinking Cokes, can after can of Coke. And I don't know if it distracted him or whatever. And what he said, it was really funny because like the audience got, froze after he said that. And he basically said, hey, you're fat. Stop that stuff. Stop eating that stuff. And she went like, what? And the whole place kind of froze. Can you imagine? And he just laughed or whatever. You see what I did? Within that sentence, I changed the tonality. I looked at him and I told him, you're fat. Stop eating like that. And he went to his brain. Do you know why I know he went to his brain? Because consciously, he's listening like this. And he's Italian, so they don't get, English people get red really fast. And but his face became red. His cheeks became red instantly, like his unconscious mind got the message. And this is the power of NLP, way beyond these PDF scripts you can get online. Everyone's got those scripts. Kindergarten. This is kindergarten. You got to learn kindergarten, A, B, C. But if you think you're good at selling because you learned a couple of scripts, come to my world and we'll get in the octagon. And then we'll see how good a person really is. And that's another thing. You want that confidence. So one of the things that I instill in my people is this mindset now, a hunter's mindset. You're a hunter. You're looking for prey. Because when we were in anthropology says that in our core, we are hunters. If we didn't hunt, no one's getting fed. We went out there. We didn't come back unless we come back with something, a deer or something. We pull it, whatever that is, we're pulling that in and we're going to cook it and eat it. Right? So we are natural hunters. We actually do hunt. What happened is we were in the agricultural society, and we used to climb, kids, what we used to do, climb on trees, climb on horses, hay, this and that. We're outside, we're free. But then Henry Ford came with the Industrial Revolution, and he wanted us to go into factories and actually do this, where we got a widget and we moved all day. We're not designed for that. And anyone who's seen that Lucy show, that's what she did with the cookies. She's trying to put the cookies in time, which is dulling our mind. And the educational system supported that. And so here you are, you're at school, and you just say hi, or you pass a note to someone else, you're in trouble because they want you to sit like this. Now, if you had anybody, a relative, or you ever got a kid who's, say, 7 years old, can you even keep them still? They're climbing over the couch, they're jumping, they're doing that. You can't. That's a natural you. You're meant to be expressive. You're meant to be courageous, risky, jump off, the fence, right? Like a 10-foot fence and you jump. That's a natural you. But we were confined and conditioned through schooling and sometimes even at home to be this person that is suppressed. My job when people come to my world is to free you, open you up, and make you a hunter again, not a passive marketer, but an active marketer to go out and get business. And I'll even leave you with this. It's your birthright to be a closing machine, to go close.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. Man, that's a fire, Richard. I appreciate you, man. Every time you speak, man, I'm just always engaged and just kind of listening on a deep level. But just a couple things, and then we'll open up for some Q&A, see if anybody has any questions. But, the biggest thing, my takeaway is, that whole approach of, asking questions A or B is really to, give them the empower. It's kind of like, empowering your kids the same way, the same concept, any relationships, right? It's empowering them. It's not making their choices for them, but it's giving them, good choices to choose from. And then what does that do? You said this too, because I wrote this down and then you said it, which is, great minds think alike, right? It's building confidence, not only confidence in, in the person delivering that, but the confidence in who that's being reciprocated to. And so which entails builds relationships, right? It builds trust, because that's the thing that people need is trust, for people to trust you. So good stuff, man. Some fire. I love it. I love this deep tissue psychology. You definitely brought that today, but I want to open it up to the floor. I can't see anybody, but I can see the chat. I think the chat's open. Does anybody have any questions that they want to shoot to Richard? Is the chat open?
I don't see anything. I think maybe not open. No, I'm not sure.
Jay-Z, is the chat open?
Yes, they can send questions.
Okay.
We have Q&A.
Okay. I'm just going to put this in here, see if you guys can see it. Test. Can you guys see that? No, it just says host and panelist.
Oh, no, the chat is within only the panelists, but we have Q&A where we answered one attendee.
Oh, there we go. There we go. It won't let me, here. It won't let me type a question in here though.
Someone raised their hand, Ali.
Yeah. Can we allow people to turn on their mics?
Yes. Richard should be able to do that since he's the host now.
Yeah, but as a co-host, can't you do it too?
No, my host privileges has been transferred to Richard. That's how
Okay.
Zoom works. Yeah.
All right, let me see here.
He can just click the mic beside the name.
I can see a question here.
Yes.
Are you teaching?
Okay.
Are you teaching?
Yeah, I'm seeing some questions now.
Yeah. Are you teaching NLP, Richard?
Yes.
From Ali.
I teach NLP for real estate agents. That's my specialty. And well, really, salespeople. I do coach some CEOs. I had the CEO of a medical company in America. Pardon me. And I coach him one-on-one personally. And he then transfers that to his people. But my main focus is real estate agents and getting listings. So everything's designed against prospecting, listing presentation, buyer presentation, negotiating, price reductions, and recruiting. So all my NLP is focused on that. So I'm not a generalist. I'm the specialist. That you can go to a generalist. There's lots out there. What you'll find with the NLP people, 99%, almost all of them really, they're all therapists. If you go deep and look at their history, they had some depression issues, they learn NLP, then they go, I want to teach it. I don't come from that background. I've been in those classes and they go around and they say, why are you here? There's actually a big one. I was surprised because they're usually small classes. There's a big class, like 40 people, 45. And the person went around and said, why are you here? And he goes, I'm a warden, second in charge, and I want to help my organization structure, communication, and all that lot, and leadership. And one person said, I'm a nurse, head nurse. And somebody else said, I'm a therapist. And I'm not joking, Gary, you know my sense of humor. And they go, why are you here? And I said, I'm here to make money.
Yeah. And
they should have seen everyone's reaction. But I have a mischief gene in me, a friendly mischief gene. And I said, I'm not like these people. And then I've been to NLP where the guy's in front. And I said, if I went door knocking right now, would you come with me? I don't think so. Well, you go, I'm busy right now. Let's go door knocking. And let's even get into a house and get listings. Because anyone that's seen me, and a lot of people have, I've trained a lot of people in Toronto, they know and they've seen me go in a house cold and get a listing on the spot, like many times. Like walk in and get it. And I've taught people to do it. It's not just me that can do it. And so that's what, yeah, the answer is yes. I teach NLP, but if you want to learn it for therapy and self thing, you will get that anyway. You can tell by talking to me. One thing you'll get is confidence of a closer. That is mine. That is my mindset. The rest is language and attitude and strategy.
That's good. That's good stuff. So Richard, if somebody wants to inquire about your coaching, how would they contact you? Just
go to NLPschools.com. NLPschools.com.
All right, easy enough. Cool. Any other questions?
And somebody said, what if you've got a small database? Then you have to, so there's two groups of people in the world. There's people we know, which is this small, and there's people we don't know, which is this big. So which group is bigger? You know, right? So we want to be calling the people we don't know. A lot of people I talk to, people I don't know. They have no idea who I am. And remember, I don't have billboards and all that. So not like to go, oh, I saw your billboard. You got to be able to capture somebody's focus instantly and interest immediately in the first few seconds. So in my NLP, I teach you how to do that, how to mirror and match, how to sound like them and use provocative statements to capture their attention and open loops so they'll want to know the answer. Like I'll give you an example. If I said I'm doing a seminar on how to take a listing in 5 minutes, you see who wants to come to it? You go, I want it. Is it free? I know some people are saying, oh, how much does it cost? That's called an open loop. So if you can do that immediately at the first few seconds, then now they've got their interest, but you have to be believable and credible. And we're just reading scripts from an online thing. Because why are the scripts free when you go to these, whatever these websites? Because they have no use. Something that's free means is worth zero. And the reason they do, I was actually in Mike Ferry's office because Matthew and me were really good friends, still are. So he used to invite me to go down there. So I was there the day that Tom was there. He was president. And he actually got his coach. He said, you know what? Give your scripts for free. Because they were resisting it. Because when you went to the events, Gary, what would happen? They just sell the scripts. It was a manual for $25. There was no, and the internet just started, right? So, and I was coached, by the way, personally by Mike and Matthew. I'm not the coach who was coached by the coach, who was coached by the coach. I laughed at someone. I go, who's your coach? He said, Mike Ferry. I go, oh, how's Mike? Is he still, where's he? I know he's got in Vegas. What happened to the house? He goes, I don't talk to Mike. I was teasing him. I said, I thought Mike was your coach. He goes, no, it's some guy from the States. I go, who is it? He goes, I can't, Tony. He couldn't hardly remember his name. They have an illusion that they're coached by the person. It's like someone saying, I'm coached by Tony Robbins. Oh, yeah, how's Tony? Because he's supposed to talk to me about doing that training. He goes, I don't know. I just see him online. It's the illusion of coaching. You see the guy on the big stage and you can tell all your friends, I'm coached by Tony. No, you're coached by some housewife in Arizona in the basement who's a life coach.
Right.
So I live in reality selling as much as possible. We all have a challenge with reality, but I try to keep into reality. So you want to learn how to talk to people you don't know. And you can't just be ordinary like everybody else to go, yeah, another one, hang up. Do you want to sell the house? No, don't call me again. You got to do better than that. Now there's two, and Gary could fill in here too and add a lot as well, is there's quantity and quality. So if you're really highly skilled, but you don't talk to anybody, it's like a person who can read, who doesn't read books, they're equivalent to being illiterate. So it's only useful if you actually make the calls. It's good to learn the skills, but you got to make the calls too to be productive. In fact, I even tell my team, I actually tease them, I challenge them. I say this a lot, like every few times a month, I go, you'll get beaten. You'll get beaten by unskilled agents. If they outcall you, they'll beat you. I do that to kind of provoke them. They go, oh. They don't like to hear that, right? If they outcall you, they'll beat you. because they still have to make the calls. Wouldn't you agree, Gary?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so many people, you know, they want to be, you know, great at making or at prospecting. They want to be 100% confident.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to fumble, which I get it, but really it starts on the phone with real live conversations. I mean, so you can come up with that strategy, but yeah, I believe just doing it.
Oh,
You know,
watch this
because-
now. Yeah, exactly. Gary, you got me at a good place. With NLP, you can change someone's reality by reframing the situation. So watch this. I have someone calling me, it happens a lot. And they go, so what's going on? I'm not doing really well. Why? I'm not really, you know, I'm kind of happy where I am in my office. I go, well, what, you know, what kind of support are you getting? And he goes, well, I'm not making many calls. Right? So I'm not really doing my job. They're kind of blaming themselves, right? And it was just, you know, at least it's honorable. They're not blaming anybody else. And then I say, the reason you're not making any calls is because your environment. Because if you were in my environment, you'd be watching me making calls, watching the other guys making calls, and you'd be having a lot of fun and excitement. In fact, when you walk into my environment, you're gonna, you know, you won't even probably even say hello. You'll be running towards the phones. I've got leads. I got leads to call, really hot leads. These are seller leads, not even buyer leads. Obviously, we got buyer leads, but these are seller leads. So I'm going to create an environment where you're going to, and I'll give them an example. I go, remember when you went to work out in the gym and you went with some guys who were like just messing around in the gym because they want to go out partying or whatever. And you go, let's go to the gym for a while. And you lifted some weights and you go, oh yeah, that's pretty good. And then you went to a gym a different time where you were working out with beasts and they're lifted and you're on the bench. And then you get off the bench and somebody gets on there, puts an extra plates on there on the side. And you go, and when you go and lie down there next, you go, I'm going to give this a go, and you can lift it because these guys came to work out. But then on the Saturday, you went by yourself and you tried that same way and you couldn't even move it. And you said to yourself, oh, maybe I was out last night a bit late. So the reason you're not prospecting is it's your environment that's not causing you to prospect. You're in the wrong environment if prospecting is important. And that right there, I used NLP. I reframed the way he's looking at the situation. So what you're doing is the way they're viewing the situation, they're viewing it in a different way because every situation can be viewed in different ways. Like there's riots, right? And then people go, you can't blame him. They're being suppressed. It's the only way they can get out. They tried everything else. They tried politics. It's not the right thing to do, but you have to have some kind of like understanding. And somebody else said they should be whipped and shot and put in jail. So the same things happening, but there's different perspectives, right? Even in politics, that means that if we can get somebody to look at this situation in a different way, we can open up their mind to a different possibility. Does that make sense? That's why I learned persuasion, not just NLP. I learned social dynamics. I learned The Art of War by Sun Tzu. NLP I just use because people are familiar with it. I learned interrogation. I not only read the book, people get really proud. I read this book. It's called Never Split the Difference. I was chosen out of 8 people in the world to work with him personally. I go to Manhattan. I'm in a room with one person per person. It's 5 of us, and he's one of them in the room. I train with him myself. So I took all Chris. So I took all this and put it into this world of influence and persuasion, and that's why I can get on the phone for a listing appointment, and I grab their attention, and I can get that appointment. Because I was in a Mike Ferry seminar, and he had a person on stage speaking for him. His name was Long. And he was saying, when you're trying to get an appointment with a for sale by owner, you're not going to get it the first time. You need 5 contacts, right? You can never get the listing. So going around the room, Gary, right? And there's top producers in that room. And I'm getting them on the first hello and getting in the house, getting first meeting contract signed all the time at that time, right now. I convince them the way I'm talking to you and they sign. So I'm there, right? And I'm afraid for him. He's going to ask me, Gary. If he asks me, isn't that true? I got two choices. I either lie to protect him and say, yeah, you're right, you can't get it. He didn't say it is a good idea to follow it 5 times, but he made the statement, you can never get him the first, you can't get him. You got to do it that way. So what, you know what I did, Gary? When he was looking around, I actually put my head down like he did in school when he didn't want to be called out to protect him. Because I said, I'm in a different world then. Another time I was in a table with a big producer, top 100 and Remax, and the coach was there. And he was talking about the marketing plan, how it's so difficult to explain to people, you know, that his marketing is different, because it is. 9 out of 10 times, I don't even have to bring up marketing plan at all. Like, if they do, I'm surprised if it comes up. Because you see, they have so much confidence in the person when they walk in, they figure, I guess you know what you're doing, you can do it. You don't go to a doctor and saying, tell me everything you're going to do, unless you're analytical, you want to know the process, or a lawyer, which case you're going to use. You don't tell him how to do his job. It's the only industry where we tell people, I'll do open house every week, where you give them the authority to tell you how to do your job. It's a ridiculous idea. And it came from real estate agents with lack of confidence. When I go in there, I'm in charge. I'm the expert. This is my world. And you've got to go in with that attitude, with the same, simultaneously, I care about you and I want you to do well. I'm here to take care of you. So that mindset is called, and you put this phrase together, my training is more than coaching, it's conditioning. And I'll give Gary that. Gary actually gave me that word. Thanks, Gary, by the way. It's conditioning. I condition your mind. So you become a sales machine, a closing machine. Unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So we're coming to an end here, but I just want to capitalize on that, what you just said. Yeah, there's a difference between being educated and being conditioned, right? And what you're doing on a high frequency when you meet with people is conditioning them. You know, conditioning is something that's sustainable, and you're going to start seeing some results. You know, it just depends on your pupil as far as their growing speed. But you're absolutely right. If your mind is blind to the possibility, then your eyes are blind to the opportunity. And so everything is kind of the power of perspective, right? Everybody sees things in a different way. And it's kind of like the old saying, you know, do you look at the glass half empty or half full, right? And then sometimes circumstances allow you to look at the glass half full all the time instead of half empty, like abundance. Like say, and you were in a situation where you just came out the desert, that half empty glass is going to look half full because of your mindset. So sometimes we have to go through certain moments in our life to look at things from a different perspective, right? So, but the key to it is, as long as you have an open mind, kind of like what you're talking about, and sharing those perspectives, I think that's going to go a long way. So, man, you know, I appreciate you, Richard. I think what you delivered today was absolutely fire. I'm definitely going to go back and listen to the recording. The recording is going to go up. You know, we had some technical difficulties, so we're probably going to edit it first, hopefully. If not, oh well, it is what it is. But nevertheless, the meat of this was absolutely fire. So, Richard, man. So again, go check out Richard, NLPschools.com. Inquire about, you know, his services. I'm sure it'll benefit anyone at, you know, any point in their career. And other than that, Richard, we appreciate you, man. Today was fire. See you guys next week on Monday. And who would he have next Monday? Let me look up here real quick, see if they answered that. Who do we have next week, Jay-Z? Sarah?
We'll either have Summer Tinsley or Jennifer Kenna.
All
right, perfect, you guys. So we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, and let us know how you're using these things too. If you let me know, you can actually, my cell number is 416-464-2392. That's my direct cell. You can text me and let me know how you're using these techniques. 416-464-2392. And let me know that you use this thing, whether it was the 10 reasons why. the benefits of prospecting and 10 negative consequences if I don't, or any of these techniques, send me and say, Richard, I use this technique and this is what happened. And maybe I'll give you some feedback on that too.
Awesome.
As well.
Awesome. I love it. Just FYI, in our group chat, I already see some people talking about, move towards pleasure or away from pain. So I got some comments from the rest of the back office team. So they loved it. Man, we love you, Richard.
Thanks a lot. This is great.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just love sharing this stuff. It kind of lights me up, to generate this. I want to support this industry. I believe in it. I respect this industry. I saw somebody with a sign that was hanging off, and you could even say a competitor. And everyone should do this. I sent him a message. I said, your sign's falling. If we all have that attitude as an industry, then we're going to get the respect from the consumer. And you're going to feel proud of being part of it. We need to help and cooperate and support each other. Then we all rise together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's doing those things that other people don't see. Those basic things like, taking the shopping cart back to where they belong after you use it, right? Yeah. Just those little things will make a difference. So cool, man. We appreciate you, bro. It was some good stuff. It was some fire. So everyone have an awesome, and I'm sure what Rich is going to do after this, and if you guys aren't doing it, you're missing opportunity. Go prospect.
Yeah, get on that call.
Get on that call. See you guys.
Go get him.
Go get him.